and welcome to the Beat LA podcast. My name is Matt Ferrucci. I'm a writer, director in Los Angeles, and I am joined by Mr. Jet Set, Mr. Worldwide, Mr. Paul Rule. Paul, how you doing?
The wide world of sports, Matt. Agony of defeat. Although it's mostly been victory in the last few weeks because I've been traveling to some cool spots. So I am now in La Quinta, California. My mother,
You're in Palm Springs.
Okay. It's Indio.
Yeah,
it's
sure.
kind of near Coachella, Matt, for the kids. And
Right.
I'll pause because we can cue the clip of my mother calling and interrupting the podcast.
Hey, Mom, I'm actually in the middle of recording the podcast. Everything okay?
But I am with my mother. Sonia Rule has rented a nice little house here at PGA West for a couple of weeks. We have a little bit of a Rule family reunion happening.
Well, I mean, we should maybe do an offshoot of the pod, like a travel pod where you go to, you were in Paris, then you went to Zermatt, then you went down to Zurich, and now you're in Palm Springs. I texted you last week, and I think you were stateside. You told me, I don't know what time it is. I don't know what day it is. What a quality problem to have, Paul.
Well, you think I'm a spy, so I'm going to reverse engineer this. I'm hoping if all these places I go that some bar I'll be in, they'll ask me if I want to be a spy.
What can I say? I'm a spy.
My mother, by the way, in a little note, my mother in the 50s was in Russia, and I don't know if I can talk about this. She was actually at a hotel in Russia, was asked to take secrets to the West about Sputnik. It's a real story.
Oh, wow. You know, my dad, when he was working in Germany for TWA years ago, East Germany still existed. And when he went from West Germany to East Germany, he had a guy follow him for the 4 hours he was in East Germany, because apparently he fit the profile of someone who might be carrying secrets or getting secrets as well. So there you go. Paul, you're back.
It's good to have a couple of guys that basically sit in our basement do a podcast.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to have you back in the United States of America. It's good to see your face. I love the fact that we only talk to each other, folks, to our 17 listeners. We only talk to each other on this podcast.
Matt. We have way more than that. You think we're back in like week 2.
I know. No, I kid. We've had over 100,000 views on our reels and shorts over the last month, which is very impressive. Thank you to all our fans. I guess I should do the house cleaning. If you're listening to this pod, you could also watch Paul and I right now on YouTube. The pod is live. You can watch it on YouTube. You could also see clips from us on our TikTok, on our Instagram. Check it out. If you want to see Paul, who looks right now like he's in a hostage video from the Middle East, you can check it out. It looks like you're you're auditioning for the sequel to Zero Dark 30.
Man, I'm in a house in the desert that everything to the Wi-Fi is password. It's Tommy Bahamas. This house literally looks like it was made on some weird Tommy Bahama set.
You know what you look like? It looks like CNN when I go to Paul Rule, our correspondent in Morocco. Are the bombshells? Can you hear the bombshells where you are, Paul?
Also, 2 media centers built.
Whoa.
Well, that was a rather large explosion.
No, I do want to say real quickly that I am on assignment. I'm always on assignment. There's always research happening. There's always stuff. So tomorrow I'm going to the tennis. So we may have a little live stuff from Indian Wells. And then this weekend, as I've mentioned, I am going to be embedded with the Oakland A's ownership group for a very fun day on Saturday, including taking batting practice at Ho-Ho-Cam Stadium and the Lou Wolf Training Center.
I mean, does it get any better for you?
It is baseball. I love baseball. We're going to talk a lot about baseball coming up these next few months, and I'm happy.
For sure. I mean, Paul, from Paris to skiing the slopes in Zermatt to Indian Wells to batting practice at spring training, you really are living the life of Walter Mitty.
George Plimpton. And if you go back and look at all the kids out there who don't know who George Plimpton was.
Listen. One of the best movies of all time was Paper Tiger with Alan Alda.
Yeah.
George Plimpton. It was a great thing. All right, let's jump into today's pod. Today, we're going to talk Giants, Warriors, 49ers. NFL free agency is going off right now like a nightclub in Miami at 4 a.m. It's like you can't keep up with the news. We're going to talk NFL free agency. And also, we got Khalil Tams from 49 Talks to come in here and talk a little bit of Eric Armstead and what's going on with that situation. We'll have pet peeves, best things we saw to finish it out. We're going to have a real tight pod. We're going to hit everything you guys want to hear. Paul, do you want to talk about the Oscars now or save it for best things?
Oh, that's such a good question. Let's do one thing about the Oscars, Matt. You give me one thing, and I'll give you one thing, and then we'll hop into the rest of this.
Let's do that.
I have a pet peeve Oscar thing. Can I do that?
So do I. So you go pet peeve, then I'll go, and then we'll jump into sports. Okay, go ahead.
Ryan Gosling's Botox or whatever the hell happened to his face. He actually looks like Mickey Rourke. We got to put pictures up. Something happened to the guy. And my wife was like, oh my God, why did Ryan Gosling do that to his face? Did you notice that, Matt? He has full-on fillers happening.
His skin was looking extra tight. I know he got the spray tan. It could have been for Barbie. I wouldn't put it past you. I mean, people, Bradley Cooper's had a really good eye tuck as well. It's very unnoticeable.
I don't lose all of our sports fans. They're like, what are these guys talking about?
No, but it's fine because everyone's secretly into this shit, whether you want to admit it or not. I think Ryan Gosling is so darn charismatic, and the performance he did for I Am Ken was outstanding. He saved that show. I think he's incredible. I'm a huge fan, but I get what you're saying. The Botox is too much for you.
It's too much, and I felt there weren't enough ties. No one was wearing a tie. What's all this casual Friday at the Oscars? That pissed me off too.
Okay, my pet peeve. Wes Anderson winning an Oscar for Best Short Film.
I knew you were going to do this.
Fuck you. Okay. So as soon as he won this, I thought I was an island because it just hit me as a director in a place that pissed me off. I mean, like Wes Anderson winning an Oscar in the shorts category, a showcase for up-and-coming filmmakers, makes me irrationally angry. What was once a category, Paul, that propelled new filmmakers and actors into a spotlight goes to an established director who's been directing shorts with stars. I mean, the category is a vital lifeline for filmmakers, and Wes Anderson made me say, and then I also got this text from Beat LA, friend of the pod, Elaine Uwe. He's texted me, GTFOH, get the fuck out of here. And that's what I felt. Wes Anderson, he should have never been in the category. He shouldn't have won that category. He should have gone to another filmmaker. And the fact that the Academy voted for him makes me say they didn't watch any of the shorts in that category either. So that really pissed me off.
It's a great hack. We're going to see this every year. Like David Fincher, I don't think he's won Best Director, right? Hey, I'm a director and I want to win an Academy Award. I'm going to make a short and then I'm going to win my Academy Award. It's like the Lifetime Achievement Award for directors that'll never get their actual Best Director.
Right. So that's a little pet peeve Oscars teaser for you. That is the pet peeves brought to you, the Tony Campagna pet peeves brought to you by yet to be determined sponsor. All right, Paul, we're going to jump into the sports here. Folks, I'm going to give you dealer's choice once again, but I think we should start with the San Francisco Giants, or do you want to go Niners first? Giants? Let's go Giants.
I want to go Giants.
Okay.
I know football kind of drives everything. And by the way, this is actually a giant Niner comment. Look what NFL free agency is compared to the MLB free agency. MLB free agency, it takes all the way till spring training for anything to happen. One day of NFL free agency is more exciting than the entire baseball season.
Well, NFL free agency is like fantasy football. I mean, it is right in your vein, people jumping ship. It's like a board game. It's like playing Risk, but it's real. It makes it so much more exciting. Great point.
It's like 1 a.m. at the bar when I was single, Matt. It's like it's musical chairs. If you want to hook up, you gotta move, man. Time's a ticking.
A Major League Baseball free agency is like the film Breaking the Waves or some silent film. And NFL free agency is like Scarface.
Say hello to my little friend!
Is literally like Scarface.
Just guns. Oh, by the way, just as an aside about the Oscars, there was a whole – John Mulaney is my new favorite comedian because John Mulaney did this thing about Field of Dreams that nobody even understood what the hell he was doing.
Oh, it was great.
If you build it, he will come.
I'm like, baseball's back, baby.
Baseball's back. Well, speaking of baseball, Giants, and I want to set you up here. It's very quick. Talk to me about this J.D. Davis situation because J.D. Davis – was released. The Giants exercised this new loophole in the CBA, and they kind of fucked him, backstabbed. I know it was within their rights. J.D. Davis, by the way, I saw on Twitter today, he's got about 7 teams interested in him, so he's going to land on his feet. Like, come on, like he's destitute. But what do you think about that whole thing, Paul?
He probably isn't going to get his $6.9 million. I thought it was just Bush League.
That's Bush. Bush League.
Only the Giants could figure out the guy who played the most games for them last year. He had played 144 games, and they gave him the whole thing, by the way, because they wanted him to go to arbitration. You're like, why is he going to arbitration over $400,000? They had this whole thing figured out. It was all backup plan. if they got Chapman. I just think the Giants organization, it makes them look Bush League, and it just tells us everything we know about Farhan. Which the bigger thing I have is if you're now seeing, you saw it with Brandon Crawford, you're seeing it with J.D. Davis, you're seeing what happened last year when they signed Carlos Correa for a second and didn't tell Crawford about it. Like, they are not a player-friendly organization. They are all about the propeller head. And by the way, saving $5 million for that franchise, does that really matter? Anyway, I just think it's all a bad look. I wondered if these things were happening out in the open, if Farhan would have kept his job when they got rid of Kapler.
What the good point is, though, is like JD was a great bat for us. And you couldn't find, even with the DH, release somebody else. Like, even if Chapman's going to be at third base full time, you got to find another place to get that bat in the lineup. And also, to your other point about Crawford, I mean, Marco Luciano, our star shortstop, up-and-coming prospect, he might get sent down. I mean, Nick Ahmed looks like the guy now.
He's definitely getting sent down. He's had, like, I think 2 hits all spring training. He's definitely getting sent down. And there's, there are injuries. I mean, Farhan made this comment. He's like, if we had a 28 to 30 man roster, we would have kept him. I'm like, maybe, but it's like they went out and signed Soler, who will probably get hurt. Anyway, I don't know. It's like, I don't know if you can't reward the guy. I mean, I know he had a bad second half last year, but $6.9 million for him was nothing for a guy who had 18 homers and played 144 games. There should be a place for him on the roster. The whole thing's confusing. And if I'm a player, I know that, look, there's been a lot of stuff about the discontent they felt under Kapler. All the players are now saying how much they didn't like playing for him. I'm sure they feel the same way about Farhan. Anyway, it was just a bad look. And people will talk about it more intelligently than we will. There was actually an excellent article that Andrew Baggerly wrote in The Athletic today about the J.D. Davis fiasco and all of the machinations that went into making sure that they saved the money and the planning that was put into the contingency to save that money. And it just all makes it look like a board game and not a sports with human beings.
Do you think Nick Ahmed is an upgrade over Brandon Crawford? If they knew, obviously they didn't know Luciano was going to come back from spring training and lose a step. Do you think we should have kept Crawford if obviously they didn't know this, but it was, if you had to pick between Crawford and Nick Ahmed, that's just me to you. What would you pick?
No, I think it was okay. I think you got to turn the page. Crawford is 37. Nick Ahmed's 33. I just think you're betting on injuries and other things.
Okay.
And then you have no room for anybody to come in and take Crawford's job. I think it was a fine move. I just didn't think they treated Crawford very well. Honestly, I like Crawford. I'm happy to not see his greasy hair anymore. Like, it got to the point where it was just too much for me.
Gosh, the aesthetic nature of it's a defective character. I get it.
We should post a photo. I saw, so he was like, everyone's like, oh, look, he's in a Cardinal uniform. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. He's got the do-rag and the whole thing. His hair was not nearly as greasy. I feel like St. Louis said to him, hey, man, you're 37. Nobody else wants you. If you come over here, you got to degrease the hair.
I won't co-sign it, but I'll let you use this podcast as a bully pulpit for. You sound like my mother, who's always like, why didn't Tim Lincecum cut his hair? She's, hey, listen, I'll say it. She's like, why does he have dreadlocks? I don't understand.
I'm
putting you in that category.
I watched
you in that category.
So Carlos Alcaraz I saw him playing a couple of and he actually shaved the back of his neck, and I almost texted your mom. I'm like, you should.
Oh, you should have.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should have. So, Paul, listen, to put a button on the Giants here, I do think there's some bright spots in spring training. Jung-Ho Lee looks like, I'm going to say it, I'll jinx it right now. He looks like a little Ichiro in him. I like how he's playing. He's playing well. Soler's bat right now, he looks healthy. He's knocking the thing around. Chapman was making some good plays. Kyle Harrison looked great mowing down some guys. We got some great young arms. Cobb is ahead of schedule. I mean, I know the J.D. Davis thing sucks, but the team's looking decent.
Who's having a better spring, Jung-Ho Lee or Woo Suk Go?
What did you say?
I don't know.
I don't either. But no, look, I think their young pitching looks kind of fun. They seem to be hitting a little bit finally. Look, it's still baseball at the end of the day. I don't watch. I'm not sitting here watching Farhan, at his computer. I'm watching players running around on grass, so it's going to be okay.
I will say after the Chapman signing, I did see on social media, on TikTok, some other like propeller head baseball pods like ours saying, are the Giants a sleeper for the wild card? Like, this is a thing that's actually being talked about just because of the moves and how we look at spring training.
Like Jim Bowden, who writes the world's longest articles, former GM for the Reds, and he writes the longest articles on The Athletic, but he did a 30-team breakdown of the offseason grades today. He gave the Giants a B+, and a big reason he gave them a B+, I'm sure, was because of Melvin. But if you look at the changes they made, there's some fun stuff going on. Soler, if he stays healthy, could hit 30 dingers for the first time since Barry Bonds. I think Chapman's going to be a stabilizing force. It's going to be fun to watch him play defense. Even Nick Ahmed, hey, he's a defense first guy. Their defense has driven me so fucking crazy the last couple of years. Just catch the fucking ball, right? And so I do think there's definitely room for some optimism with the Giants at the moment. And I'm going to try to stay positive. But they fucked JD Davis squarely in the keister.
That's Bush. Bush League.
As my brother said, we eat a lot of charcuterie plates down here in Palm Springs, right? There's cocktail hour. And my brother said that we have salami up the ass. And I said, wait, what did you just say?
Ernie, baby. Ernie rule.
Salami
Ernie rule, folks. Let's
up the ass.
Hey, Paul, finally, the one guy that is actually in midseason form is Angel Hernandez. I don't know if you saw him. He ejected Lance Lynn from the game. And then I guess he was doing laps around the warning track, and then he ejected him again. Angel Hernandez, fucking Christ, that guy's back in the league.
And I was upset because before we started this podcast, you would text me if that happened. But now I had to find out on my own.
I know. Well, I don't know where to find you. I don't know if you're in, St. Petersburg, Russia, or you're down in Madagascar. But you can check out Paul's Adventures. It's a new podcast and show on the Travel Network. Folks,
we're going to on my wife's Instagram, actually.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're going to be right back. We're going to talk a little Golden State Warriors. All right, we're back, folks, and we're going to talk a little Golden State Warriors. We haven't gotten into the nitty-gritty yet. We're a couple weeks out where, we're already scoreboard watching and looking at the wins, losses, the 9-10 seed. But in a couple weeks, it's going to be a mad dash to the finish line. Hopefully, the Warriors can get out of the play-in. Paul, my worst fears, especially with Curry getting hurt, we're on a collision course to face the Los Angeles Lakers in the 9-10 spot. Hopefully we finish 9 and we can host that game. But we had the upswing. The guys are playing great. We had a little bit of a downswing. How are you feeling about the Warriors today?
Not good. They clearly can't win without Steph. I know they just beat the Spurs. They're 17-17 at home. How do they not win at Chase? I keep waiting for them to have this momentum and get to the 6th spot and actually give us something to talk about. The Warriors, when they're good, are the most popular team in the NBA. They need to do this for us, Matt. The Beat LA podcast needs the Warriors to get their shit together. I feel like they're actually doing it to me personally.
No one makes it about you better than you. So I love it. Continue.
Hey, look, you and I decided we'd start a podcast. We don't know anything.
Yeah.
Look at the ego involved in that.
You do bring up a good point, though. 17-17 at home. They play better on the road.
Yeah. I knew they were going to beat the Spurs on the road. I knew that was going to happen. And look, they had to figure out the rotation stuff without Steph. I thought Kerr made some weird decisions in the home game against the Spurs. But anyway, no, they're an exceptionally frustrating team. And I do like the development of the young guys, but they're going to play the Lakers. They're going to lose again like they did last year.
Well, I'll tell you this, though. The young guys, Pods, Trace Jackson Davis, we were talking earlier about him dunking on Wembanyama last night, but Podziemski, Trace, Kuminga, you can even throw Moody. The young guys are actually playing above board. We're losing because of a couple of the veterans not playing their game. I'm talking about Wiggins. I'm talking about the inconsistency of Clay. Those are the guys that I feel, it's not the young guys so much as the old guys just not living up to what they were.
There's not much to say about the Warriors, except that I just don't want them to play the Lakers.
I was at Chase for the Spurs game at home that they lost, that ugly loss. And you know why they lost, Paul? And I can say this. It's because it was Filipino Heritage Night that night.
What happened? Was there why would the Filipinos, I would think that they would play harder for the Filipinos.
You would have thought. I don't know where I'm going with that. I just wanted to throw that out there, that my people, maybe they brought too much energy or that, or something. But I wasn't surprised they lost on Filipino Heritage Night because us Filipinos, we always get the short end of the stick. That's where I'm going with it. That's the take.
Did you get a keepsake?
They did have these T-shirts, these Filipino Heritage Night T-shirts. They were ugly, god awful. So no, I did not keep it.
It was not the same as the goodie bag that you got if you were an Oscar-nominated actor. Did you see that? It had it's like $180,000 worth of shit in it.
Jesus. Hey, I mean, listen, we're going to find a way to insert an Oscar thing in every sports segment today.
By the way, did you see just one of them with $50,000 to go stay at some hotel in Zermatt, where I just was?
Was there a Rolex in the bag? Did you see that Rolex commercial they had during the program? Rolex sponsored the Oscars.
I saw that. Yeah.
Those Rolex hats were great, but they were like, I didn't even know what some of these movies were. Like, with the watches, it was quite confusing. It made me want to get a Rolex though, Paul.
We were watching it. It was like kind of on the background, and I'm like, oh, it's a Rolex ad, and I wasn't looking at it. And my wife was like, "How do you know that?" And I said, "Because Rolex sponsors tennis, and it's the same announcer. So it's like Name That Tune, but with Rolex."
Paul, my birthday's on June 3rd, and as a good friend of yours, and sort of our co-partnership in building this podcast, I'm just saying I don't have a Rolex.
Our listeners got us on a private jet. Maybe our listeners could get you a Rolex, Matt.
Okay. That's what I need. I need a Rolex. That's it for the Warriors. We're going to jump in next onto a little bit of 49ers NFL free agency. We will be right back. Okay, we're going to talk a little NFL free agency. Like Paul said, compared to Major League Baseball, NFL free agency is like the movie Blow and Scarface combined, and they had a love child called NFL free agency.
I would like you to have an analogy of a movie, Matt, that isn't about, what
cocaine?
I'm talking about.
Yeah, like Cocaine Bear.
The bear. It f***ing did cocaine. A bear did cocaine.
NFL free agency is like Armageddon meets The Day After Tomorrow.
What was the other? Deep Impact. They were two meteor movies.
Deep Impact was actually better. Was that the one where Morgan Freeman was the president?
I think so. He was God also. What was that? He was a god in the Bruce Almighty.
Bruce, I'm God.
Bingo! Yahtzee!
So NFL free agency. Okay, I'm just going to rattle it off here. And all the fantasy heads like me love this. Kirk Cousins to the Falcons. Saquon Barkley to the Eagles. Derrick Henry to the Ravens. Austin Eckler to the Redskins. Tony Pollard to the Titans. DeAndre Swift to the Bears. Russell Wilson to the Steelers. The one that pops out for me, Paul, and before we'll get to the Niners, is Saquon Barkley to the Eagles. Feels very much like their CMC play to get a running back, a 4-down back. That's the one that scares me the most a little bit. Any thoughts on this turbulent free agency last 48 hours?
Barkley seems like he gets hurt a lot, but so there was a good article today in the Journal about Kirk Cousins and how he has gamed the system. Kirk Cousins has now he's made in earnings lifetime, top 10 quarterback earnings lifetime.
$400 million.
It's bananas. Somebody was willing to pay that guy. What do they pay? $40 million a year. The Falcons for 4 years at 35 years old.
Talk about like just being above mediocrity, consistency. It's crazy how much he's made. Hey, Derrick Henry to the Ravens. Now we got Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. That feels very daunting out there. The one thing that actually I saw before the pod, isn't it funny how Jimmy Garoppolo in less than a year went from kind of NFC Championship consistency, Super Bowl, signs the contract to the Raiders. Now he might be out of the league now.
Yeah. I mean, we bitch about Kyle, but Kyle made him a good quarterback or a mediocre quarterback. And maybe without Kyle, he's just shitty. But I feel bad. I like Jimmy, Did you see our compensatory pick for him? I don't know how they figured this shit out. Everyone's like, it's going to be a 3rd-round pick. Now it's a 4th-round pick. But the Niners have a lot of compensatory picks. It's actually
fun. We
really want to get geeky on this. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. I think it's just funny. Russell Wilson, the fakest man I know.
You want to split this Subway sandwich? It is my signature sandwich. It's called the Danger Witch, and it's dangerously good.
I mean, he's just so, you know what I'm talking about, folks. Go into the Steel City in Pittsburgh, the most blue-collar town out there. It just seems like the weirdest fit of all time. Paul, our boy, Brock Purdy got married this weekend. Did he get our gifts? Did you get any confirmation?
So I have a segue there. You know who's not a free agent? Brock Purdy, ladies.
Yeah, baby.
Because he's no longer available. Yeah, he's no longer a free agent. I don't think he has a year to write us a thank you note, Matt. You know that. Okay. You know your mismarried protocol. You know about this stuff. I think I got you a thank you note within that year for the wedding, for those beautiful towels you sent us. Who makes those towels? I can't.
Missoni. It was the beautiful Missoni towels.
Kristen was very impressed that you picked that one. She's like, Matt's a stylish guy. She also told me, by the way, that on the podcast that I need to ask you more questions because you asked me a lot of questions, and then I don't reciprocate, Matt. So how you doing? How was your week?
I'm good. I just want to make a quick shout out to our silent producer, your wife. Thank you for saying things to Paul that I feel uncomfortable to say to him sometimes. Paul, to be honest, I'm doing okay, but I save it for my therapist. Continue, okay. Paul. We're talking Purdy.
Purdy. So anyway, congratulations, Brock Purdy. Our boy now can, we think, have relations with a woman. We think that there was a pretty good chance he was a virgin.
I never put that out there, Paul.
He's very religious, Matt, and he felt that, felt the need to get married as a 25-year-old rock star in the NFL. What they say in 40-year-old virgin, he was probably putting the pee on the pedestal, right? And
he was putting the pee on this pedestal. Exactly. Cue the clip.
Let me just say, you are putting the pussy up on this pedestal. You're just building the pussy up, man.
What are you even talking about? Building the pussy up? What does that mean?
And now he's wondering, he's like, that was all it was about?
I will say, if the folks haven't seen it, go to the TMZ. TMZ was all over this wedding and the wedding photos. I didn't see any of his teammates there, but he had his crew, and they looked very stylish. It looked like a crew.
Chubba was there.
It looked like a crew that got after it. It looked like a bunch of fun guys. I think we're sleeping on Brock's nightlife. I think he's a good time.
Hey, look, I let us down. I got invited, Matt, but I was in Vermont. Did you get invited?
No, I didn't get invited, but that could be because I only send those waffle plates worth $14.95,
which you actually thought were waffle makers. If we really were dedicated, we would have tried to crash his wedding.
You know what, Paul? I was thinking about this other day, and everyone in our 40s will relate to this a little bit, or older, or maybe slightly younger. I want to go to more weddings, and the wedding season's done. Everyone's, it's like divorce parties now, but I'd like to go. I don't have a summer wedding on the docket because, I'm of a certain age, and so I miss going to weddings, bro.
That's probably why De Niro and Pacino have 30-year-old girlfriends, so they can go to weddings still.
On that note, let's just touch on a couple of Niner free agent stuff. The Niners did sign edge rusher Leonard Floyd to a 2-year, $20 million deal. We did give a second-round tender to Juwan Jennings. Darnold to the Vikings, but here's the big one. Joey Bosa to the Niners. I know his mom yesterday was tweeting some stuff, hoping that Joey joins Nick. We did lose Cleveland Farrell. Javon Kinlaw to the Jets today. We need to find a defensive tackle, especially with Eric Armstead leaving. We're going to talk about that with Khalil Tams. But what do you think? Any of those things kind of pop to you a little bit?
I'm going to do what my wife said I'm supposed to do. Matt, did those things, what have those popped to you?
Selfishly, Darnold to the Vikings, which I think is fascinating. I love Darnold. I think he was great with us. I would have loved to have seen him play more. But 1 year under the tutelage of Kyle, and he gets a $10 million deal. The Vikings could use Justin Fields, but they said, no, we want Sam Darnold. I love that for Sam. Other than that, none of this stuff really matters. Kinlaw to the Jets, who cares? It looks like Chase Young is going to go to the Titans or the Panthers. Fine. But we need a defensive tackle. We need a cornerback.
I think what matters, and I agree with all that, and Darnold, it is amazing. Darnold didn't play. He played one game right against the Rams in a meaningless game. He didn't look that good, and he still gets $10 million because the halo of effect of Kyle. But they made Eric Armstead, we're going to get the Armstead stuff with Khalil, but they made him take a pay cut, and then he said, fuck you. And they have a lot of salary cap room. Remember all the restructuring they did last season? So they have even more if they're going to tell. And Leonard Floyd wasn't that expensive. They got a pretty good deal on him. 2 years, 24. They got 20. They got a lot of money. So maybe Joey Bosa is coming, or maybe somebody else. They got a big signing coming.
Or Khalil Mack. We also need a linebacker because our boy Dre Greenlaw.
That's interesting.
He won't be playing right away. Ayuk, Jennings, Charvarius. We can extend them. All of this we are going to get into with Khalil Tams. We'll be right back. All right, folks, we're back, and we're going to talk a little more 49ers news and get really in-depth with someone who actually knows what they're talking about. Back for the pod, Khalil Tams, the man behind 49 Talks on Instagram, our 49er insider. Welcome back to the pod, Khalil.
Thank you for having me. Let's get it.
Welcome back, Khalil.
We just put out the bat signal, and Khalil appears, and he just legitimizes this podcast. We were quickly talking off air. Khalil is about to graduate from Sac State. Can I say that? Is that okay?
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah,
okay,
that's cool.
and he's got like a 3.6. And I got out of USC with a 2.2. That's a longer story for another pod, Paul. Paul, what did Princeton? What did you get? What were you out of there with?
About a 3.6, Matt. We may have to find another podcasting guy. Your GPA was too low.
Yeah, there were some factors that made me dip. Okay,
no, I understand. You won other awards at USC, like most likely to end up in rehab. Can I say that?
Man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
You can. It's all out there, Khalil. You just got to Google it and you'll find out.
At USC, that's actually a real thing. Like it's in the yearbook. Most likely to end up in rehab.
That's exactly right.
Most likely to die in your parents' private jet. All those kind of things.
I love it. I love it when Paul gets edgy. See, I just need you here, Khalil. So let's just jump in. So the big thing with the Chargers today, every team's got to come under the cap, and we're recording this on Wednesday. So by 1 p.m., the Chargers, they're $25 million over the cap. They got 4 guys that are busting their cap right now. Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack were 2 guys we got our eyes on. What do you think there? Do you think either of those guys are in play, Khalil?
Yeah, I saw a post today that Joey Bosa is still in play, but he's just so expensive. So he would have to, change up his contract a little bit. I would say it's possible for Joey Bosa just because of Bosa's there, and I saw his mom posting about it. So I think his mom wants him to be a Niner and all that. But it's tough with this contract situation. And honestly, how much he costs and the return on investment we get from him isn't the best because he's always hurt, to be honest. But it would be cool. It's a fantasy.
But here's my question. Even if he does I don't know, like in the NBA when a guy takes a vet minimum and just chases a ring, we still owe him that bonus money that's going to put us over the top. Is that right?
I believe so, yeah. I believe so. But I doubt he would take vet minimum, though. I doubt he'd take vet minimum. I doubt that.
Yeah, you're right. There's but sometimes
way.
family, Paul knows about family. You got to stick together. It's like the mafia. Yeah. So speaking of Eric Armstead, Paul called me 2 days ago and said, I need Khalil to come here and explain this to us. So we need a defensive tackle. I mean, do you think he resigns? Is there that possibility, or do you think there's a market for him? What do you feel about the whole situation with Armstead?
Yeah. So long story short, we asked him for a pay cut. He's very expensive this year. I think $17.9 million for this upcoming year. Obviously, he didn't want to do it. I think they thought maybe because he's the longest tenured Niner, a hometown guy, he would, do it for the team. But he won that money, which is, I understand that. But is there a market for him? I don't know, because he's so expensive for what he's been producing. This past year, he was injured most of the year. I was watching a video yesterday. I think if a team is willing to pay more than the Niners, he'll take that, even though it's less than his contract or whatever the case may be. But I don't think he comes back to the Niners, to be honest.
So who fills that slot? Who's out there? Who are the Niners looking at to be that defensive tackle? I mean, we got a bunch of edge rushers and no one up the gut.
Yeah, we just got Jordan Elliott from the Browns, and then we just traded this morning for Malik Collins. So we have 2 defensive tackles now. They're not Eric Armstead level, but I think in the draft we'll get one as well with Jordan Elliott, Malik Collins, and then probably someone in the draft. That's what I see us doing.
Who's Malik Collins?
From the Texans.
Khalil, have you done any studying since NFL free agency started?
Shoot, man. I mean, not really, because I had finals or midterms last week, so
okay,
it's been an easy week, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, it's like fantasy football but real life. I mean, you're just looking at all these guys jumping ship. On the pod, we compared NFL free agency is like Scarface, like the movie Scarface. It's just it's just ridiculous. What are your thoughts on any of these other things? Like, I guess Chase Young, we were talking about that the last time you're on. Looks like he's going to go someplace else, and they don't want to pay that money. Cleveland Farrell goes to the Washington. Kinlaw, our boy Kinlaw, me and Paul thought he was going to get into the WWE, but he decided to sign with the Jets for $7 million. What do you think on all those guys? What kind of stands out for you?
I'm happy they're gone, honestly, because we got Leonard Floyd. And Leonard Floyd is, I think, way better than Chase Young, way better than Cleveland Farrell, Randy Gregory as well, because he's very consistent. He's always on the field. I don't think he missed one game since 2018. So he's very durable, and he puts in the effort. He's a veteran. So, yeah, I think he's an upgrade over Chase Young and Cleveland Farrell and Randy Gregory. So,
is it just me, guys? Are these contracts coming in shorter and cheaper than one would think? Look what they played for Hargrave last year, right? And then they get Floyd for 2 years, 24 mil or 20 mil, I think. And look what they're getting 1 year contracts. It's I don't know, all these guys, even Daniel, like Hunter signed with the Texans 2 years, 49 mil. That doesn't sound that bad. I mean, it's 48 guaranteed, but still, it does seem like that maybe these guys aren't getting all that cash. 4 years. I mean, we see the Hargrave signing, man, we may be regretting already.
Yeah, I think part of it is the age though, because Leonard Floyd's 31. I'm not sure how old Danielle Hunter is though, but yeah, that's a good point.
Speaking of the age, we did get one guy, and I just want to say his name, Yetur Matos Gross. Matos Gross.
Do you think he's related to Luis Matos?
That would be amazing. You know, it's funny, Paul. There was a little highlight reel of Yetur's 2 years in the league, and I think I might have seen it on 49 Talks. I think you might have posted a highlight reel. It's a crazy highlight reel. It's like a bunch of under 5 lines. It's like weird. It just shows him kind of spinning and getting a little pressure. Like there's barely a sack in his repertoire, but like the guy's a freak. He's like built like the Predator. He's like 6'5", looks the part.
I thought he directed Poor Things. Wasn't it your Toros, something like that?
Yeah, that's his uncle. That's his uncle.
I don't know. I got distracted by the Oscars this week, Khalil.
So Matos Gross, there's them. Hey, how do you feel about Darnold going to the Vikings?
He's a good backup to have, but he must be too expensive for us anyway, so he can go. But now I don't know who our backup quarterback is because I don't trust Brandon Allen. So we'll see.
You know, maybe Purdy can be that Iron Man. Maybe he can be that Lou Gehrig.
It's too risky though, man. It's too risky.
He's now married, dude. He's going to be so distracted. Not that I know anything about getting distracted by marriage.
So, hey, last thing before we get you out of here. Ayuk and Jennings. What kind of deal you see for Ayuk? Is he going to stay? And do you think Jennings signs that tender for 4.8?
Yeah, so I think Ayuk will stay. I think all these moves that we're doing, especially the Eric Armstead one, the pay cut, and also Kyle Juszczyk, we want to do a pay cut with him as well. That's in the works right now. So I think all of that is for Brandon Ayuk, or at least, part of it is for Brandon Ayuk. So I think we'll figure him out. As for, Juwan Jennings, I think if someone matches that, if someone trades a second round pick for him, then obviously that'd be cool, but I don't think he's worth that. So I think he'll stay with us for one more year. Yeah, I can't really see. I think a couple years ago we did the same thing for Kendrick Bourne, and no one matched that. So we kept him for another year.
Paul, you got anything else you want to talk to Khalil about? I mean, it could be about anything.
We want to get. We'll do that offline. We want to get you back for the draft, Khalil. Khalil and I were talking before you hopped on, Matt, just about the fact that the Niners seem very, very focused on their defense. During this free agency, and they're not addressing their offensive line, among other things. So they got a lot of compensatory picks. So I'd love to talk to Khalil before the draft.
Well, for sure. I mean, having Khalil on, he unlocks something in us. We're never this good unless he's here. I mean, it's just bouncing right now. Khalil, before we get you out of here, I just want to say, if you want to follow his Instagram channel, it's the shit. It's called 49 Talks. Hit follow. You'll get all the news that you want. It just comes fast and furious. You don't have to wait for Schefter or Ian Rappaport because he'll tell you all about it before those fuckers. Hey, Khalil, what class you got today?
Student investment fund. It's like we have a big investment fund that's worth over $1 million, and we have to manage it. And then next week, actually, I'm gonna be in New York for it.
Our boys all grown.
You got to spend that influencer money, baby.
Oh, that's good. Awesome, man. Well, thanks for coming on, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate the opportunity, honestly.
Great to see you, Khalil. Always great job. Thanks, bud.
All right, we're back, folks. We're going to get into the best things we saw, the favorite segment of a lot of our listeners, including your wife. We could literally invite her back into the room again for this spot. Paul, best things. I mean, I got a couple, but we also got the Oscars. What do you want to do first? You call it.
I do have one thing I want to say about the Oscars. But anyway, you Matt, you start with the Oscars.
My favorite part of the Oscars was Emma Stone winning Best Actress for Poor Things. I thought she was the best person in that category. I'm glad she beat out Lily Gladstone. Lily Gladstone, she was part of a three-hander. Great actress, but basically she played stoned the entire thing. It was very kind of one-noted. Not her fault, just the character. Emma Stone carried that film playing a Frankenstein type of person, and she was absolutely riveting. I love that she was shocked. I love how she got up there and her speech was off the cuff. That was my favorite part. And also, my boy Al Pacino reading the Best Picture winner. As soon as he walked on stage, I turned to a couple people and it goes, "It's going to be a shit show."
And may I see Oppenheimer? Yeah.
I have personal experience with Al, having worked with Al years ago when he was a little bit more lucid. But when I saw him get out there, I wish I was betting that live because I'm like, watch, it's going to go south. And it immediately went south with Al Pacino. Those were a couple of my thoughts. But I thought Jimmy Kimmel did great. it was one of the best shows they've done in years. So, and I think that was a testament to the films that were involved. There was actually a really great year for films this year. So there you go, Paul. And there was no like everything everywhere all at once. There was no like sort of big like, action things. It was really about the work. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, if you think about the screenplay category, which you and I hold near and dear, if you look at who won for that, they obviously Oppenheimer was the big winner of the night, but think of the adapted screenplay category and how crowded that was. And American Fiction, which I think
loved it,
well deserved, won that over Oppenheimer, over Barbie. And by the way, I thought his speech was fantastic, where he basically said, hey, a $200 million movie is also a risk. Why don't you make 20? And he was like doing the math, and he was like 25, 4 million. He's like, wait, is that right? No, that's not right.
10 million.
Yeah. Or 45 million. Yeah. And I'm like, good math. Anyway, but that was great. Anyway, it was a good year for movies, and I loved Oppenheimer. I think it reminded me of the kind of movies that made me want to get into this business to begin with, and just kind of classic storytelling. Christopher Nolan getting his due finally. I think is the great director of kind of our generation. But I will add this in. So they love to have controversy, and the Michelle Yeoh like giving the Academy Award to Jennifer Lawrence to hand to Emma Stone, and then everyone was like on social media was like, Emma Stone dissed Michelle Yeoh and said and they're like, she's racist. I'm like, what were you watching? People just want to get pissed off about stuff.
I know. Well, first off, it's Michelle Yeoh.
See, I'm a racist. I got her name totally wrong.
Yeah, right. But also they said that about Robert Downey Jr. when he accepted the Best Supporting Actor award from the one guy who won last year, Key, the guy from Everywhere All at Once. He literally didn't look at him and took the award and went to say hi to like Ben Kingsley or somebody else. And they're like, he's snubbed. And then backstage, they're arm in arm. He's an arm in arm with Key. And you're like, they've just created something again.
Something I hope never happens again at the Oscars was the thing where the actors introduce the other actors. I don't want to see actors talking to each other as real people. I only want to see them talking to each other as actors. It was very self-involved, very uniquely Hollywood in its bullshit. The number of times people said, I am in awe of you, I wanted to throw up.
Paul, I loved Nicolas Cage's sort of send-up of the glass eye with Paul Giamatti. That was great. There was a couple of them were great. Nicolas Cage was great. There was a couple of good ones. I'm okay with it. I like it.
You're more of a Hollywood apologist than I am, Matt.
Listen, I do think we need to get someone else to introduce Best Picture, though. It's someone who's just a little bit more lucid.
I just love when they send somebody out who can't even read the thing. I mean, that happened a couple of years ago. Remember when Moonlight versus La La Land, that whole fuck up?
There's a mistake. Moonlight, you guys won Best Picture.
Moonlight won. This is not a joke. This is not a joke. I'm afraid they read the wrong thing.
Oh, Warren Beatty's face with Faye Dunaway. That was. You know what? You're right. We need more fucking shenanigans. Paul, best things this week. Did you see anything?
I'm going to start doing this, Matt. I started watching a show, and I'm not sure if I should finish it. So I'm going to see if you've watched it, and you can tell me if I should finish it. Full Circle on HBO Max. Steven Soderbergh. Did you see it? What do you think?
Okay, it's so funny you bring this up, and points to Paul. Paul, Best Things Bingo brings up a show from over 8 months ago.
It's not Best New Things, Matt. It's Best Things. There's a lot of content out there. People are trying to figure out what to watch. It's a little bit of a dead zone in the sports season. It's a little bit of a dead zone in the new show season.
We want to be in the zeitgeist of stuff, so we can put it on what's going on currently. And you might as well have talked about On the Waterfront today. I did see Full Circle. And after the first, I was very excited about it because of Soderbergh. After the first episode, I said, this isn't for me. The episode was fine. There was something about it. I can't put my finger on it because I watched it a year ago. But after that pilot, I said, I don't care if they figure it out. So I'm with you on this. What episode are you on?
One. Oh, also, I finally saw The Holdovers. I don't know why it took so long. And again, this is also old news. It's great. It should have won something else. I guess it won Best Supporting Actress, and it should have. I loved it.
Yeah.
All right. What do you got, Matt? What do you got?
Well, first off, I want to make a caveat. Based on our last pod, I recommended the show One Day. To your point, Paul, I recommended it off of watching 4, maybe 5 episodes. And then I finished it, Paul. And by the time I finished it, I wanted to throw my remote through the television. I hate watched the back half. And so to all you folks out there that I recommended one day as a mini version of Normal People, I retract that comment. It cannot hold a candle to Normal People.
Matt.
Fuck that show.
I love that about you, that you're willing to admit when you've been wrong. Or
I've been willing.
I don't know if you're wrong, but you're a human being.
Paul, to your original point, right now I'm watching The Regime with Kate Winslet. Stephen Frears directed. I've watched the first 2 episodes. I found it interesting enough to continue. I don't know where it's going to go, but The Regime's got me. There's something odd about it, and Kate Winslet is really just great in this show.
Can you tell me what it's about?
It's got a little Wes Anderson in it, in the sense that it takes place in a country in Middle Europe that we don't talk about. We don't know what country it is. And she is the dictator / chancellor of this country. And she's got her peccadillos. She's a little weird. She's a bit of a germaphobe. And she entrusts this soldier to be her valet and kind of make decisions for her. It's a little bit like that great Richard Dreyfuss movie where he played the dictator, but he was the guy in between. Remember? Mood over Parador.
Yes, Sonia Braga, I think, was in it.
Yes.
If I remember correctly.
Yes.
I remember seeing Naked when I was like 12 years old. That's why I remember her name. By the way, so apparently it's from an executive producer of Succession. Who in Succession is involved in The Regime? Do you know?
I don't know. I mean, is it our boy Armstrong? I don't know who it is.
I don't think so.
Who it is.
They would have said from the creator of Succession.
That's it, right.
Yeah.
And last thing, Paul, I started The Gentleman on Netflix. It's this new series written and created and directed by Guy Ritchie. I'm 3 episodes in, and like Guy Ritchie movies, it starts out great, and then it's just style over substance. And in episode 3, I don't give a fuck what happens to anybody.
His career, to me, is unexplainable. He doesn't know how to do a cold open.
Paul, next week you're going to be in batting practice. Do you go to the batting cage beforehand, or what goes on? I mean, do you want to hit the batting cage?
I probably
you should hit a batting cage in before you actually hit in a batting cage at spring training. You should get some swings in.
Just like before I tried out for the Princeton JV baseball team. That's exactly what I did. All right, Matt, now I'm nervous. Maybe I won't swing. I don't know. I'll bunt. I'll lay down some bunts.
Hey, any shout outs? Did anyone you want to hit? Did you meet anybody in Europe? Do we want to shout out anybody?
I don't know. I mean, I shout out my mom, my brother, and other people, and I shout out Alcaraz shaving his neck. I want to shout out you, Matt, for putting up with me. I now feel like a bad podcasting partner that I don't ask more questions of you, and to the point where my wife made me feel bad. So I want to shout out you, Matt, for all you do and all you are.
I appreciate it, Paul. And, I couldn't do this without you. It's becoming a very special.
I might have gotten you a fake Rolex in Zurich.
Oh, great. My mother got me a fake Rolex in Hong Kong about 30 years ago, and I wore it through high school, and it was the coolest thing ever. So that's it, folks. We're going to be coming to you in a couple of weeks with a very special guest. It's really inviting the enemy into Beat LA territory like never before. It's going to be pretty insane. Baseball season's around the corner. We're going to have a Dodger fan of unbelievable proportions, literally. So stay tuned for that.
And we're going to start, I think, getting a little bit more consistent again as we get into the baseball phase to our listeners and viewers out there. Matt has been prepping to shoot a movie, and I've obviously been on a little bit of a walkabout. Good luck, Matt. Break a leg, as they say, as you go into production this coming week. But we'll see everybody again for baseball.
So, folks, until next week, Paul.
Beat LA.